Black Monday indeed. Hi again, everyone, and welcome in to Cincinnati Bengals Talk. The Bengals, well, they made a bunch of changes to their coaching staff. And if you read bengalstalk.com, you might have had the inside scoop that changes were coming. We published something on Sunday night and early Monday morning. The Bengals relieved Lou Anarumo of his duties. The longtime Bengals defensive coordinator was one of multiple coaches that the Bengals have fired, and so we'll go through the list here. Lou Anarumo, out. Linebackers coach James Bettcher, out. And not just those two guys, but they also moved on from defensive line coach Marion Hobby. And you look at what the Bengals have done in the defensive line room and the lack of the development there, and that's certainly part of it. So on defense, we know Anarumo out, Bettcher out, Hobby out. And then on offense, Frank Pollack, the offensive line coach, the veteran offensive line coach, well respected, signed with the Bengals and became their O-line coach in 2021. It was a four-year deal. I was told his contract was up. Lou Anarumo had 1 year left on his contract. The Bengals move on from four coaches. I'm going to break down the defensive side, and then I'll go to the offensive side and Frank Pollack. And by the way, this video brought to you by Rivertown Inquiry and rivertowninquiry.com. Make sure you check them out today. Let's start with Lou Anarumo. I think that anyone in the building is going to tell you Lou Anarumo is a really good coach, right? Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor, Mike Brown, like anywhere you want to go, the defensive coach or the defensive players would tell you that. But there were two things working, and I've had these conversations. I had these conversations with some of the media members as we were talking in recent weeks about the future and what can happen. Two things working against Lou, and it wasn't just one bad season. And the bad year certainly mattered. But Lou wanted to bring in Geno Stone, was on board with Nick Scott, signed off on those guys. Neither one truly worked. The Sheldon Rankins thing was a bust. The Dax Hill experiment was weird throughout. Miles Murphy, they haven't gotten a lot out of him, even though they drafted him. And so in the first round. And so you look at it, and you just got to think about it like this. The Bengals, they go get Dax Hill, Cam Taylor-Britt, Jordan Battle in 2022. In 2023, they come back and they get Miles Murphy. They get DJ Turner. They continue to go that route where it's like, all right, we're going to add to this defense, and we're going to keep adding to this defense. And then this past year, Chris Jenkins, McKinley Jackson. And you look up on the defensive line, just can't do anything. And the secondary has questions. And Dax Hill's played 18 positions. And so all of that, I frustrated some within the organization. And a lot of that, personnel-wise, getting the most out of guys, falls on Lou in their minds. Plus, the fact that they went out in free agency. And yeah, of course, Lou wanted to keep Jesse Bates, and that's a front office issue. But all of the other stuff that comes with it. Nick Scott clearly didn't fit. They clearly couldn't make that work. You go bring in Geno Stone, and that was someone the coaching staff really, really wanted. And he certainly had an up and down year and wasn't really good until the 4-8 start to the year when he kind of bounced back and played pretty well down the stretch, but still limited athletically, not a good tackler. What's his ceiling? Let's be honest here. It doesn't seem like he's got a really high ceiling. And I like Geno, and I think he played better down the stretch, but the point is the point. And so when you mix that with how bad the defense was this year, just in general, just bad, it's a tough sell. It's a tough sell. And I think that's why Lou Anarumo, I think he'll probably get another job at some point. Maybe this cycle from a defensive coordinator standpoint. Makes a lot of sense in some scenarios. But if you're the Bengals, this is an attractive job, and we'll get into potential candidates and all of that down the line. This is going to be a busy, busy time here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. So please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and let's dive into the opposite or the other end of this and go to Frank Pollack. To me, and then we'll go to Marion Hobby and James Bettcher. But to me, and I'm just checking my phone because this is all happening in real time as I record this. All right. So before that, before I check my phone, all right, let's dive into it here. Frank Pollack, the reason behind Frank Pollack, because he's well respected. It's much like Lou, where I think he's probably going to be another an offensive line coach somewhere else. Veteran coach, well respected. The players liked him, coaches liked him. This is about fit. And all of the frustration you have with Joe Burrow getting hit, some of that is just how the Bengals are going to play, but not all of it. And so what does that mean? Well, it means that the Bengals have to find a way to balance the run game, the pass game, blend that together and marry it together. And I don't think that Frank Pollack's version of the run game is Zach Taylor, Dan Pitcher, even Brian Callahan in the past when he was the offensive coordinator. Obviously, Dan Pitcher was the offensive coordinator this year. I don't think those blended correctly. And when they don't blend correctly, you get what you're seeing where it's kind of disjointed at times. It doesn't feel like it's a perfect thing. And then Joe says, "F it, I'm going to run this thing shotgun, spread it. I'll take hits if I need to. Let's roll." And that has to change some. Joe Burrow can't take as many hits. So I think it's about fit as much as anything. The Bengals ask a lot of their offensive line. I think they need to get better in certain areas. I also think Frank, much like Lou, would say, "Hey, I never wanted Jackson Carman," because he didn't. He knew that he wanted Creed Humphrey. He wanted there were guys he wanted, and this didn't come from Frank. This came from people in the know, but wanted Creed Humphrey, wanted guys like that down the line, and that's what the Cordell Volson pick was. It was like, yeah, give me a guy that's going to work hard and care. And so you get Cordell Volson in the 4th round, and he's just limited. He's not going to develop into this 10-year starter. And I think the Bengals hoped maybe he could. Didn't happen. It's a lot to ask out of Frank. I think Frank did a pretty good job with Amarius Mims this year, but the fit, you got to blend it together. And I think that's what this comes down to is fit. We'll see what the Bengals do at offensive line coach. Defensive line coach with Marion Hobby, it's pretty simple. It was all about developing. And when you have a Miles Murphy and you have, heck, even going back, Joseph Osai, Miles Murphy, you think to this year, Chris Jenkins, McKinley Jackson. I think McKinley Jackson was okay. Cedric Johnson, another guy. Jeff Gunter, another guy. Like, there's just a lot of guys that you're like, all right, well, can you get something out of any of them? And really, it was the Trey Hendrickson show for most of this year. Joseph Osai popped at the end, but it didn't feel like he was getting the most out of Miles Murphy. Miles Murphy was a pick they knew needed to develop. It didn't feel like they were getting the most out of him. And I think the other thing, whether this is Lou's call, Marion Hobby's call, the defensive staff in general, being loyal to veterans certainly impacted things. Going and getting Vaughn, I get bringing Vaughn back for cheap. Makes sense. But that might have hurt. That might have been why Jordan Battle showed up to camp overweight and had to shed some LBs and be dialed in. Now, that's on Jordan too, and that was always my defense of Lou, certainly behind the scenes. I don't know if I've said that publicly, but, like, those things have to it has to work. Like, if you get 2 second-round corners in a row and you get a first-round safety slash corner, you gotta figure out how to use them. You gotta figure out how to use a first-round defensive end. Like, think about all the first and second-round picks that have been used on defense. Does it feel like this defense is ready to go? I would say the front office said, "Hey, man, get more out of these guys. They're talented." And I think Lou's like, "Well, where's Jesse? Where's this guy? Where's that guy?" And so there's that. And then the James Bettcher thing, I think it goes hand in hand. You look at this linebacker room. I think the linebackers are fine, but you know you're bringing in a new defensive coordinator. You're bringing in a new defensive line coach. You're probably going to want that defensive coordinator to pick his new linebackers coach. It also could spell the end potentially for Jermaine Pratt, who could be a cap casualty as the Bengals retool their defense. There's a ton more on this that we're going to have. Zach Taylor scheduled to talk on Monday. We will post that. We are going to post any locker room interviews, any locker room reaction we get. I'm going down to Paycor Stadium today. I don't care about the snow. Doesn't matter. I will get there and we will be covering it for you. So please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. If you're looking for more, check out bengalstalk.com and stay tuned. This offseason, it's about to get busy, Bengals fans. Until next time, I'm James Rapien. For Andrew Fox Miller, thank you so much for watching Cincinnati Bengals Talk.